Okay, let's unpack this. If you've been feeling lately that you're not just dealing with, rapid technological change, but maybe something more, a fundamental kind of unsettling shift in how everything works, well, you're not wrong. Our sources are pretty clear. We're right in the middle of what they call the sixth great transition.
Right. And that's really our mission today, to dive deep into this transition and, crucially, the kind of leadership it seems to demand. Because what we're facing, it isn't just disruption, like a bad quarter or a market dip. This is, and they use strong language here, a full-blown operating system upgrade for civilization.
Wow. An OS upgrade for civilization, that implies a total system crash is actually possible, which probably explains why so many of us feel, well, disoriented. If you feel overwhelmed, maybe like yesterday's promises of progress somehow let you down. It's likely because you are alive right now during a great transition.
Exactly. And that disorientation, it comes from a really fundamental difference this time around.
Yeah.
You look back at previous big transitions,
Yeah.
The ones that brought us mechanized farming, steam engines, global supply chains, those eventually delivered pretty defined outcomes. We knew, more or less, we were building towards electrification or mass production. This time, though, the sources emphasize this key difference. The outcome is totally undecided.
Undecided.
Yeah, the future isn't just coming at us fast. It's genuinely unwritten.
And the reason it's unwritten, that ties back to something the sources call the wall of complexity, right?
Precisely. For thousands of years, this wall, it basically set the absolute limit on human knowledge and control. Our imagination, our ideas, they always raced ahead of our ability to actually calculate or manage the real world effectively.
So it constrained everything.
Everything. Think historically.
Uh.
Sailors, they had to hug shorelines. Why? Because the math, the navigation for open oceans, it was just too complex, too unreliable. Doctors relied on guesswork, even harmful things like bleeding patients, because the human body's biology was, frankly, too complex to grasp fully. Economies, they boomed and busted, partly because nobody could truly model the whole system. Complexity was, kind of ironically, humanity's fortress. It kept things, manageable, even if limited.
And the sources use a great example, the game Go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go. For millennia, it was seen as this, unassailable fortress of human intuition. The number of possible board positions. It's famously more than the atoms in the universe. Mind-boggling.
So it could only be mastered by human creativity, by instinct.
That was the idea until 2016.
Right, AlphaGo.
That year, Google's AlphaGo defeated Lee Sedol, the world champion Go player. And this wasn't just a technical win like beating Kasparov at chess earlier. This signaled something deeper, that the wall of complexity hadn't just been scaled, it had cracked.
How so? What was different?
The machine didn't win by being smarter in a human way. It won because it could contemplate thousands, millions of possible futures and probabilities. Things humans simply cannot calculate or even visualize. It scaled complexity beyond us.
Wow. Okay, and once that wall cracks, the whole game changes.
The fundamental problem shifts. Exactly. AI today doesn't just knock on the traditional gates of ignorance, it crashes right through them at scale. Meaning it's reading proteins to design new drugs we couldn't imagine. It's simulating entire economies, forecasting pandemics, optimizing global supply chains, all in seconds. Where humans used to speculate, maybe make educated guesses, machines now accelerate, calculate, and often decide.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, as you said earlier. If that wall of complexity is falling, what's the new problem? It sounds great.
Doesn't it? Like problem solved. Abundance of intelligence. But here's the paradox, and this is absolutely central to this transition. When the calculation wall falls, abundance floods in. Intelligence, data, insights. The problem flips. It's no longer scarcity of intelligence or data. It's the overwhelming overproduction of insight.
Overproduction.
Yes. We suddenly have too many optimal solutions, too many scenarios, too many brilliant optimizations for our human systems, our governments, companies, societies, to actually process or metabolize.
So the bottleneck isn't generating ideas anymore. It's using them. It's not data. It's too much truth, almost.
Precisely. You've nailed it. The sources use this striking image. Backlogs of brilliance pile up like cargo ships outside a jammed harbor.
Backlogs of brilliance.
Imagine AI gives us 20 perfect pathways to solve climate change tomorrow. But our political and social systems, maybe they can only debate and implement one of those every 5 years?
That's a backlog, a dangerous one.
It is. So complexity hasn't vanished. It's just shifted. It moved from calculation solving the problem to digestion. Can we metabolize the sheer volume of solutions and insights fast enough to keep up with the machines generating them? That digestion crisis,
Yeah.
that defines this sixth grade transition.
And what makes this feel so relentless, I guess, is that we're not dealing with just one digestion crisis in one area. Like maybe the first industrial revolution was mainly about factories and cities. This feels like everything, everywhere, all at once.
That's the perfect phrase for it. You've hit the core mechanism, convergence. The sixth grade transition is defined by this compound transformation hitting every major system simultaneously. It's not just one big invention or one war. It's a unified systemic overhaul.
Okay.
And we really need to look at those converging domains because that's where the sheer speed and interconnectedness become, well, terrifyingly clear.
All right. Let's start with technology. It's obviously moving fast, but you're saying it's more than just speed.
Much more. It's changing the very nature of human creativity. AI now generates text, software, music, complex scientific models, outputs that are often genuinely indistinguishable from human creativity. That's a profound shift.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have synthetic biology rapidly reshaping medicine, materials, talking about engineering life itself, and quantum computing. It's getting close to thresholds that could make today's supercomputers look like, I don't know, an abacus. Automation isn't just coming soon anymore, it's scaling into every decision.
And all that tech acceleration is hitting society hard, right?
We're seeing
Fragmentation.
deep fragmentation. The sources talk about splintering into micro-tribes of identity, belief, and outrage.
Microtribes.
Yeah, and the glue of shared experience is melting. Think about it. Trust in big institutions, government, media, even universities, it's decaying rapidly. A lot of that is driven by algorithmic pressure, personalization. The shared reality that kind of held the 20th century together, it's dissolving.
Which naturally spills over into the economy. The description is platform-mediated, AI-augmented post-labor participation. That sounds complicated.
It means work and value are changing fundamentally. Think about how platforms run things now. The sources say the entire marketplace has become a kind of game engine.
Be a game engine.
Yeah, every click, every purchase, every piece of content you consume. It's tracked, optimized, nudged, often with built-in rewards, like a game. Plus, you've got things like decentralized finance, NFTs, challenging central banks, changing basic ideas about value and ownership, moving away from purely physical stuff.
Okay, wow. And then there's nature. Used to be sort of the backdrop, maybe a resource pool or a constraint we could engineer around. Not anymore.
Definitely not anymore. We're past simple environmental issues. The term uses ecological destabilization.
Destabilization. That sounds serious.
It is. Retreating glaciers, rivers drying up, oceans acidifying. These aren't abstract problems. They make agriculture, infrastructure, our entire civilization increasingly precarious. Ignoring the planet's operating system, its ecological logic, that's no longer just irresponsible, it's a guaranteed path towards collapse.
So that's technology, society, economy, nature. What about geopolitics? How's that converging?
It mirrors the complexity shift, actually. Power is doing two weird things at once. It's fragmenting and concentrating.
How did that work?
Well, nation-states still matter, obviously, but huge influence is now wielded by tech platforms, by vast social networks, even by non-state actors,
Yeah.
groups with global reach unimaginable before.
Okay.
And when power diffuses like that, war itself changes. It becomes asymmetric, cyber, network, often deeply personal and unpredictable. Hard to know where the next threat comes from.
And finally, this convergence even reaches into philosophy and science.
Absolutely. Ethics aren't just classroom debates now. They are, right now, being encoded into algorithms that shape billions of lives every single day.
Yeah.
What values drive the recommendation engine? That's applied ethics at scale. And science, it's entered this strange recursive loop. Knowledge isn't just cumulative anymore, adding text to the wall. It's become generative.
Generative.
AI can simulate outcomes, edit genes, remix ideas, generate 1 million potential drug compounds overnight. The sheer abundance changes science itself. Which of those 1 million compounds do we even test? How do we manage generated knowledge?
Okay. This is a lot. Convergence across every domain, driven by this shift from calculation to digestion, fueled by tech acceleration. So if the challenge is this huge, this complex, and accelerating this fast, what does that mean for our chances? How do we possibly navigate this successfully? You can't just optimize your way out of systemic collapse.
You absolutely can't. And that brings us to something really crucial the sources discuss. The necessity of optimism.
Optimism. That sounds a bit soft, given the scale of the problems.
It sounds soft, but the argument is that it's actually a core mechanism for progress. It's not just about feeling good. It's an applied force. Progress itself, historically, depends on believing a better tomorrow is possible.
Okay, explain that. How is optimism a mechanism?
Well, they argue it's the historical accelerant. Take the Renaissance. It wasn't just finding old books. It required a profound optimism about human potential, about classical genius. And optimism strong enough to break free from what they call the scholastic rigidity of the preceding era. A belief we could build something new and better.
Right, okay. Makes sense.
Or the Enlightenment. That wasn't just logic and reason. It was fueled by a radical optimism that knowledge could actually improve society, that humans could govern themselves justly.
And the Industrial Revolution, despite all the awful conditions.
Exactly. Despite the squalor, the disease, it was fundamentally optimism made steel.
Yeah.
A deep, powerful confidence that the future was improvable through invention, through taking massive risks, through building.
And the ultimate example they use is Apollo.
Apollo was perfect. When JFK said, "We choose to go to the moon," he wasn't just betting on the tech they had. Much of it didn't exist yet.
Right.
He was betting on mindset, on the belief that if a society commits to a seemingly impossible goal, the ingenuity, the solutions will follow. It was a triumph of applied optimism, leaning into the unknown.
So the idea is, without optimism, all this complexity, this convergence, it just looks like an overwhelming, terrifying wall.
Precisely. But with optimism, that same complexity starts to look like a vast, challenging, but ultimately navigable frontier. It demands exploration, not just fear. Optimism becomes the fuel for that digestion process we talked about.
Okay, so we need the right mindset optimism, but you also need the right tools, right? A way to actually navigate this frontier, a kind of compass for this age of convergence.
Exactly. Mindset isn't enough on its own, and that's where the sources introduce this framework they call polyintelligence.
Polyintelligence. Okay, what is that?
Polyintelligence is framed as the necessary capacity for metabolizing all this complexity, for handling the speed of the machine while retaining the wisdom of the human and respecting the limits of the planet. And crucially, it rests on three interconnected, interdependent layers of intelligence. Relying on just one, that's incomplete and, frankly, potentially dangerous.
3 layers. Okay, let's break them down. What's layer 1?
Layer 1 is cognitive intelligence, basically human judgment.
Okay, what's unique there? What can humans do that machines presumably can't?
This is where our uniquely human abilities live. Moral discernment, empathy, ethics, complex social understanding, long-loop thinking beyond the immediate, beyond the next quarter or election cycle. If machines are generating solutions at light speed, cognitive intelligence is the governor. It asks, are these solutions actually good? Are they just? Are they wise? Not just optimal according to some narrow metric.
Got it. And the sources warn that without this layer.
Without it, we move incredibly fast, but we inevitably lose our way. We lose our moral compass, our ethical grounding. Speed without wisdom.
Okay, layer 2.
Layer 2 is computational intelligence. Machine speed. This is the powerhouse. This is the AI that cracked Go, the algorithms optimizing markets in milliseconds, simulating pandemics, crunching data at scales way beyond any human capacity. This is the engine driving the transition.
Right. And the tension between layer 1 and layer 2 seems pretty obvious.
It's the core tension. Speed without wisdom is reckless, potentially catastrophic, but wisdom without speed in this new environment, that risks becoming irrelevant. Too slow to keep up.
Okay, so human judgment, machine speed. What's layer 3?
Layer 3 is ecological intelligence, understanding natural systems.
Connecting back to the destabilization we talked about.
Exactly. This is about understanding and respecting the logic of living systems, climate patterns, watersheds, biodiversity, resource limits. The sources are crystal clear. This layer provides the non-negotiable constraints, the operating rules of the planet.
So give me an example of how these 3 layers would work together, ideally.
Okay. Imagine computational intelligence, layer 2, designs the fastest, cheapest, most efficient global supply chain imaginable. Incredible optimization.
Sounds good so far.
Then, cognitive intelligence, layer 1, looks at it. It assesses the human impact. Does it rely on exploitative labor? Does it destroy communities? Is it equitable? Let's say it passes that moral check.
Okay. Fast, efficient, and ethical. What's missing?
Ecological intelligence, layer 3, steps in. It analyzes the physical impact. Wait, this optimal chain requires depleting 3 major aquifers, clear-cutting a vital rainforest, and generates unsustainable carbon emissions. It will collapse the local ecosystem and eventually itself.
So ecological intelligence provides the reality check against the laws of nature.
Precisely. It forces resilience. Ignoring layer 3 leads to systemic breakdown. Guaranteed. Listening to it, integrating its logic, is what makes any kind of sustainable success actually possible.
So polyintelligence isn't just having these three things separately. It's not like three different departments.
Not at all. It's a fabric. It's about weaving them together, human judgment, machine speed, ecological awareness, moral clarity, into a coherent, functional whole. A system that can actually manage that digestion crisis we started with.
Right. It's the capacity to synthesize these different kinds of knowing.
That's the core idea. The big takeaway for you, for everyone listening, is that the future probably won't belong to those with just the most data, or the fastest AI, or even the best intentions alone. It'll likely belong to those who can effectively metabolize complexity into clarity, those who can synchronize these different layers of polyintelligence into a rhythm, a tempo that society can actually follow and sustain.
So this era isn't just asking for better specialists, better industrial age experts stuck in their silos.
No.
It's calling for something new. It's calling us to become, as the sources say, polyintelligent leaders, people capable of bridging these different worlds, the human, the machine, the natural. That ultimately is how we might navigate, maybe even survive the sixth great transition.
And remember, that wall of complexity, it hasn't vanished, it's just shifted. The challenge now is aligning our necessary optimism with these incredibly powerful digital systems and grounding our drive for resilience in a deep understanding of interdependence with each other and with the planet. So thinking about those layers, human judgment, machine speed, ecological constraints, maybe the deep question for you to carry forward is this. What stands out to you as the single greatest challenge in truly fusing our ethics, our moral clarity, with this incredible, almost runaway digital speed we've unleashed?